His ancestors had found that this place was very effective for the time of prayers. So I found myself on that day at this medicine wheel with my friend David at the crack between the worlds during one of the worst droughts in the history of the American desert Southwest. My ears had heard him invite me to pray for rain. That's not what happened. And without the understanding of the previous episodes, what I say next probably wouldn't make much sense. But we have the benefit of those episodes, so let me now share with you exactly what happened, because I wasn't prepared for what I saw next. My friend David, he sat in the dirt next to me. He unlaced the shoes of his old work boots, and he stepped into the medicine wheel with just his naked feet on the ground. And he closed his eyes. He created a prayer, mudra, in front of him just for a few seconds. Just for a few seconds. And then he turned around and he looked at me. And he said, "I'm hungry. You want to go for lunch?" And I said, "Well, sure." I said, "We can go for lunch." But I said, "I thought you invited me here to pray for rain." And this is when he turned and looked at me. And what he said changed my life. It changed my perspective and the way I think about my relationship to the world. I'm going to share it with you. Maybe it'll change yours as well. Here's what he said. I said, "I thought you prayed for rain." And he said, "No." He said, "If I prayed for rain, rain could never happen. Because the moment we ask for something to happen in this world, in the asking for, we are affirming that it does not exist now." And we invite you to think about that. When we ask the universe for something, we are implying that whatever we're asking for, or asking about, or asking to appear, or asking to happen, is not present in the moment. And in that way, we are actually affirming in the field the very thing that we were hoping to change. I hope that makes sense. The quantum field that we talked about in the last episode, if you recall, it is the container for all things. It is the bridge between us and the world, between what happens in here and what happens out there. And it is the mirror in our world for what we claim to be true in our hearts. So if you think about that, it makes perfect sense. If you're asking for rain, as I thought my friend David was going to do, if he asks that, then the field interprets that as him asking for no rain, because the rain's not there. So I looked at him and I said, "David, if you didn't pray for rain right now, what did you just do?" And he said, "When I closed my eyes," he said, "I felt the feeling as if the rain has already happened. I felt the feeling of what it feels like," he said, "to stand in my Pueblo village with my naked feet in the mud. And the mud is there because there's been so much rain." He said, "I smelled the smells of what it smells like when the rain rolls off of the earthen walls of our Pueblo homes." He said, "I felt the feeling of what it feels like when I walk through the fields of corn that are this high against my naked chest, and they're this high because there's been so much rain." He said, "I felt the feeling of what it feels like when my prayer is already answered. And then I gave thanks for what has already happened." He said, "In those few seconds, I felt the feelings and I gave thanks for the rain that has already occurred." This is a very, very powerful story to me, and it illustrates a quantum principle, because there is a huge difference between working toward an outcome and beginning as if the outcome is already present. I invite you to think about that. I think it's probably no surprise to most of our viewers that the modern Bible, as we see it today, as a historical text, I'm not talking about religion, just as a document of history, that Bible has undergone some revisions. And one of the big revisions was in the 4th century AD, or now Common Era CE. The 4th century, when about 42 or 43 books were removed during the time of the Emperor Constantine, or they were condensed, rearranged, and translated in a way that appears as we see those books today. The question is, what did we lose in those 43 books? Well, we don't have to ask without the answer, because in the 1940s, 1947, 1948, right around in there, amazing discoveries in the Middle East revealed the oldest records of the books that had been edited, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi Library. The Dead Sea Scrolls from the Old Testament, the Nag Hammadi Library from the New Testament. I know that you've heard this before. You've heard the axiom, ask and ye shall receive, that your joy be full. You've also heard that sometimes things are lost in the translation, and this is one of those places. Because when we go back and translate the original Aramaic of ask and ye shall receive, here's what the text says. And I'm going to read this to you directly. The text says, ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness be full. When we be surrounded with our answer and be enveloped by our desire, that is us being in the presence of the outcome of our prayer, as if it has already happened. So now you know how this kind of quantum healing occurs. The key, I'm just going to summarize very quickly for you, is to feel as if your prayer is already answered, as if your body is already healed, as if your perfect relationship is already here, as if your abundance is already present. And when you feel, invoke all of your senses, just like David did in the rain.